The text came while I was standing over my husband's flag-draped casket in a foreign cemetery, taps echoing across unfamiliar hills. Landing at 2. Can someone pick me up? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then Ryan's response, 3 laughing emojis followed by "We're busy, take an Uber." My brother was laughing at my request for a ride home from Ethan's funeral. Mom chimed in about proper planning. The cousins stayed silent. I stood there in my black dress, holding the triangle of stars and stripes they'd just handed me, on behalf of a grateful nation, and realized my family had already buried me long before Ethan died. They just didn't know that sometimes the dead come back. And when they do, when they refuse to play the role of forgotten sister anymore, that's when family suddenly remembers your name. But by then, it's already too late. The flag felt heavier than it should have. Claire Miller stood at the edge of the freshly turned earth, her fingers white against the deep blue fabric folded into that perfect triangle. The foreign soil beneath her feet felt wrong somehow, like even the ground knew Ethan should have come home differently. Not in a flag-draped casket. Not with a 21-gun salute echoing across unfamiliar hills. The military chaplain's words drifted past her like smoke. Something about honor and sacrifice. Something about service to country. But all Claire could hear was Ethan's laugh from their last video call, the way he'd made that stupid joke about the mess hall food, how his eyes had crinkled at the corners when he'd blown her a kiss before the connection cut out. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. On behalf of a grateful nation, the officer said, pressing the flag into her arms. His young face was carved from stone, trained to show nothing, but she caught something human flickering in his eyes. Pity, maybe, or recognition of a grief too fresh to name. The taps began then, that lonely bugle call floating across the cemetery, where too many American soldiers lay far from home. Each note hung in the air like a question nobody wanted to answer. Claire's chest tightened until breathing became work. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw the flag and run until her legs gave out. She wanted to wake up from this nightmare and find Ethan beside her, complaining about her cold feet under the covers. Instead, she stood perfectly still, the military widow playing her part in this ancient ritual of loss. That night, back in the cramped guest quarters the base had provided, Claire sat on the narrow bed surrounded by Ethan's things. There wasn't much. The military was efficient about death, reducing a whole life to 1 duffel bag's worth of possessions. His watch, still set to local time, still ticking away seconds he'd never count. The dog tags that had survived when he hadn't, the metal warm from her clutching them. A photo from their honeymoon 3 years ago, both of them sunburned and grinning on a beach in Florida, back when death was something that happened to other people. She picked up his worn paperback book, something about ancient Rome he'd been reading. A bookmark stuck out halfway through. He'd never know how it ended. The thought hit her like a physical blow, and she had to sit down, dizzy with the absoluteness of never. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up, thumb hovering over Mom's contact. It would be morning back home in Ohio. Mom would be having her coffee, probably scrolling through Facebook, sharing those inspirational quotes she loved so much. But Claire remembered their last conversation, 2 weeks ago when she'd called to tell them about Ethan. The long pause before Mom had said, "Oh, honey, that's terrible," in the same tone she might use for a coworker's distant relative. Then she'd asked if Claire needed anything, but before Claire could answer, she'd said, "Actually, I have to run. Garden club meeting. We'll talk soon, okay?" They hadn't talked soon. They hadn't talked at all. Ryan hadn't even picked up when she'd tried calling him. He texted back 2 hours later. "Sorry, in a meeting. What's up?" When she texted back that Ethan was dead, he'd responded with a sad face emoji, and "That sucks. Sorry, sis. That sucks." 2 words for the end of her world. Instead of calling, she opened the family group chat. Miller family, with that old photo of everyone at Christmas 2 years ago. She wasn't even in that picture. She'd been taking it. Story of her life, really. Always on the edges, holding the camera, watching everyone else be together. The messages scrolled by. Jenny talking about her son's soccer game, complete with 12 photos of little Tommy in his uniform. Mom sharing recipes nobody would ever make, things with impossible ingredients like passion fruit reduction and truffle oil. Ryan sending memes that weren't really funny, mostly about how much Mondays sucked and how beer was life. The cousins, Ashley and Brittany, planning a barbecue for next month, debating whether to have it at Ashley's new place with the pool or Brittany's house with the bigger yard. Life moving on without her, the way it always had. Claire typed out a message. Ethan's funeral was today. She stared at it, then deleted it. They knew. She'd told them when it was. None of them had offered to come. Mom had said something about international flights being expensive, as if Claire had chosen for Ethan to die overseas. The next morning came too soon. The transport to the airport was silent, the driver understanding without being told that this wasn't a time for small talk. Claire moved through the airport like a ghost, past duty-free shops selling perfume and chocolate, past happy couples buying matching neck pillows, past gates announcing flights to places Ethan would never see.
Rome.
He'd never see Rome, despite that book, despite their plans to go next year for their anniversary. She had a 3-hour layover in Frankfurt, and she found herself in a corner booth at an airport restaurant, picking at an overpriced sandwich that tasted like cardboard. The waitress kept refilling her coffee without asking, recognizing the look of someone who needed to be left alone. At the gate for her flight to Columbus, she watched a young soldier in uniform board early. People thanked him for his service. An older man shook his hand. A woman bought him a coffee. Claire wanted to tell them that the real service came from the ones who didn't board the planes home, but she stayed quiet, invisible in her civilian clothes and widow's grief. She opened the group chat again. Her thumb moved across the keyboard before she could think too hard about it. Landing at 2. Can someone pick me up? The message sent with that little swoosh sound. She watched the delivered change to read under Ryan's name first, then Mom's, then Jenny's. The 3 dots appeared. Ryan was typing. The response came fast, accompanied by 3 laughing emojis. We're busy, take an Uber. Before Claire could process that, Mom chimed in. You should have planned ahead. Everyone's got things to do. Jenny added a thumbs up to Mom's message. Ashley and Brittany read it, but said nothing. Their silence was almost worse than the words. Claire stared at the screen until the words blurred. Her dead husband's belongings were in her carry-on. She'd just stood in a foreign country, watching them lower him into the ground. She'd listened to a chaplain try to make sense of senseless loss. And her brother was sending laughing emojis. Her fingers moved mechanically. It's fine, don't worry about it. She added a smiling emoji, that lying yellow face, and put her phone away. The businessman next to her glanced over. Family, he said, not a question but a statement of understanding. Something like that, Claire replied. The flight to Columbus felt endless. Claire had a middle seat between the businessman who typed aggressively on his laptop, each keystroke like a tiny hammer, and a teenager who slept with his mouth open, occasionally snoring. She kept her eyes closed, not sleeping but not awake either, floating in that gray space where grief lived, where Ethan's voice still echoed, where his hand still fit in hers. When the plane touched down, she watched the other passengers jump up, eager to grab their bags and rush toward whoever was waiting. Through the window, she could see the terminal, the gray Ohio sky threatening snow, the kind Ethan always said reminded him of dirty cotton. She took her time getting off the plane. No one was waiting anyway. The arrivals area was chaos. Kids running to grandparents, sticky hands reaching up for hugs. A woman jumping into her boyfriend's arms, wrapping her legs around him while people smiled at young love. A family holding a welcome home banner for someone in uniform, probably coming home for the holidays. Claire pulled her suitcase behind her, the wheel clicking against the tile floor in an uneven rhythm. One of the wheels was broken. Ethan had been meaning to fix it. He'd bought the replacement wheel, it was sitting in their garage. One more thing that would never get done. Outside, the Ohio air hit her like a slap. She opened the rideshare app. 15-minute wait. She found a bench near the pickup area and sat down, watching taxis and cars cycle through. A mom loaded 3 kids into a minivan, the youngest crying about something, the oldest on his phone. Normal life. Normal problems. Excuse me, you okay? Claire looked up. An older woman with kind eyes was studying her face, the sort of woman who probably had grandchildren and baked cookies from scratch. Fine, Claire said automatically. You sure? You look like you could use. The woman trailed off, maybe recognizing that particular hollow look of fresh grief. Well, if you need anything. Thank you, Claire managed. The woman hesitated, then sat down beside her. I lost my husband 2 years ago. Military, too. I recognized the look. Claire's throat tightened. How did you know? The way you're holding yourself. Like if you let go even a little bit, you'll fall apart completely. Does it get easier?
No.
It gets different. You learn to carry it. The woman patted Claire's hand once, gently, then walked away. Her phone buzzed. Driver canceled. Too much traffic from an accident on 270. She refreshed the app. 30-minute wait now. Then 45. An hour. A news van pulled up to the curb, the Channel 6 logo bright on its side. A reporter in a press suit climbed out, followed by a cameraman. They were probably covering the traffic mess. Holiday travel disasters always made good filler pieces. Excuse me, the reporter approached her. She was young, eager, the kind who probably dreamed of breaking big stories. Are you affected by the highway closure? We're doing a segment on the travel delays. No comment, Claire said quietly. The reporter moved on to a frustrated-looking businessman, but the cameraman lingered for a moment, something in his expression suggesting he recognized her exhaustion as more than travel fatigue. Claire stood up. She couldn't sit here for another hour, watching happy reunions and pretending her heart wasn't shattered. The transit station was only about a mile away. She could walk it, catch a bus home. She grabbed her suitcase and started walking. The path took her along the service road, parallel to 270. She could see the flashing lights before she heard the sirens. Red and blue painting the gray afternoon in carnival colors. Traffic was stopped completely, cars lined up like dominoes. People were out of their vehicles, standing on the shoulder, recording with their phones. As she got closer to the overpass, she could see it wasn't just an accident. A semi had jackknifed, its trailer twisted at an impossible angle. A small sedan was somewhere under there, crushed like a tin can. The sight made her stomach turn. Another family about to get the worst news of their lives. Police barriers were already up, yellow tape fluttering in the wind like party streamers at the wrong kind of gathering. Officers were pushing bystanders back, their faces grim. But there was shouting, urgent and sharp. We need those cutters now, someone yelled. Fire department's stuck in the traffic, another voice responded. At least 20 minutes out. We don't have 20 minutes. There's fuel everywhere. Claire's feet kept moving, drawn by something she couldn't name. Through a gap in the crowd, she heard it. Faint, but unmistakable. A cry for help, thin and desperate, coming from the wreckage. Her body moved before her mind could catch up, ducking under the tape, ignoring the officer's shout behind her. Ethan's voice in her head. Sometimes you don't get to wait for backup, Claire. Sometimes you're all there is. The smoke hit her first, acrid and chemical, burning her throat. The sedan was barely recognizable as a car anymore, compressed between the semi's trailer and the concrete barrier. Through the spider-webbed windshield, she could make out a figure slumped over the steering wheel. Ma'am, you need to get back. An officer grabbed her arm. He was young, maybe 25, his face pale with the realization of what they were dealing with. Someone's in there, Claire said, her voice steadier than she felt. We know, but I can smell gas. The officer's face changed. He smelled it too now, that sharp petroleum scent mixing with the smoke. They both looked at the spreading puddle beneath the wreckage, rainbow-slicked and growing. How long until fire gets here?
Claire asked.
20 minutes, maybe more. There's a pile-up blocking them too. 20 minutes. Claire thought of Ethan, the stories he'd told about split-second decisions in combat. About how sometimes waiting for backup meant waiting too long. About how the difference between a hero and a casualty was often just timing and a willingness to act when everyone else froze. She shrugged off the officer's grip and moved toward the car. Behind her, she heard him calling for backup, but he didn't physically stop her. Maybe he recognized something in her face. Or maybe he was just a kid who didn't know what else to do. The driver's door was crushed, folded in on itself like origami made by angry hands. Claire could see the person inside now, a middle-aged man, blood on his face, unconscious or close to it. His breathing was shallow, ragged. His lips were turning blue. "Sir? Can you hear me?" She kept her voice calm, the way Ethan had taught her. In crisis, panic spreads like fire. Stay calm, stay focused, stay alive. The man's eyes fluttered. A weak groan that might have been help, or might have been nothing at all. "I'm going to get you out, okay? Just stay with me. What's your name?" Another groan. His hand moved slightly, fingers twitching. "That's good. Keep moving. Let me know you're still with me." The door wouldn't budge. Claire pulled until her hands went numb, the metal edges cutting through her gloves. The gas smell was getting stronger. Through the chaos, she heard someone shout about a construction crew working on the overpass. She ran toward the orange vest she spotted, her body moving on pure adrenaline now. The construction workers were standing by their trucks, watching like everyone else, waiting for someone official to take charge. "I need a crowbar," she said to the first worker she reached, a burly man with concrete dust in his beard. "Lady, you can't."
Now.
The command in her voice was pure Ethan, the tone he'd used with new recruits. "There's a man dying in there, and the fire department's not coming. You want to watch him burn?" Something in her voice, maybe the same command Ethan had carried, made him move. He grabbed a crowbar from his truck and followed her back. Two other workers came too, carrying tools. The metal door groaned as she worked the crowbar into the bent frame. The construction worker joined her, adding his strength. The metal was hot to the touch, even through her gloves. Behind them, she could hear more sirens, distant but coming. "On 3, she said. 1, 2. The door gave way with a shriek of metal that sounded like screaming. The man inside was semi-conscious now, mumbling something she couldn't understand. His seatbelt was jammed, the buckle crushed. Claire pulled out her keys, using the sharp edge to saw through the belt, her movements precise despite her shaking hands. The construction workers helped support the man's weight as she cut. "Careful with his neck," she said, remembering Ethan's first aid training. "We don't know what's injured." Together, they pulled him free, his weight making them stumble backward. He was heavier than he looked, dead weight in their arms. They'd made it maybe 15 feet when someone yelled, "Run." The explosion knocked them all to the ground. Heat washed over them like opening an oven door, but multiplied by 1,000.
Claire respira.
She could taste copper in her mouth, blood from where she'd bitten her tongue. The construction worker was pulling her further back, dragging the injured man with them. Her vision swam, doubled, then cleared. When her hearing returned, it was to chaos. Sirens everywhere, drowning out everything else. People screaming, some in fear, some shouting orders. The news crew from the airport had their camera trained on the burning wreckage, on her, on the man they'd saved. Paramedics swarmed the injured man. One of them, a young woman with steady hands and a focused expression, looked at him and her eyes widened. "It's David Brennan," she said to her partner, quiet but Claire heard it. "You sure?" "I'm sure. I was at the fundraiser last month." "That's definitely him." Claire didn't recognize the name, but everyone else seemed to. The crowd pressed closer. The police officers looked stunned. Even the construction workers were staring. "The philanthropist," someone said. "The one who built the children's hospital?" "And the Veterans Center," another voice added. "My kid got treatment at his cancer ward," a woman near Claire whispered. The man, David Brennan apparently, was conscious now, gripping Claire's hand with surprising strength as the paramedics worked on him. His eyes were clear despite the blood on his face. "You saved my life," he said, his voice rough with smoke but distinct. "What's your name?" "Claire," she managed. "Claire Miller." "Thank you, Claire Miller," he said, and there was something in the way he said it, like he was memorizing it, filing it away. "I won't forget this." Then the paramedics were loading him into the ambulance, and he was gone. A police officer appeared at her elbow, an older man with kind eyes and graying temples. "Ma'am, We need a statement. She nodded, numb now that the adrenaline was fading. Her hands were shaking. Her knees felt like water. He led her to a patrol car, handed her a bottle of water. Her hands were shaking too hard to open it. He did it for her. That was incredibly brave, he said. Incredibly stupid, but brave. I couldn't just watch, Claire said. Most people do. Just watch, I mean. You military? My husband was.
Is.
Was. She stumbled over the tense, still not used to past tense for Ethan. I'm sorry for your loss, he said, and unlike her family, he sounded like he meant it. The reporter from the airport materialized with her cameraman. Up close, Claire could see her press badge, Sarah Coleman from Channel 6. Ms. Miller? That was extraordinary what you just did. Can you tell us what made you act? Claire looked at the camera, then away. The red recording light blinked at her like an eye. My husband was a soldier. He died 2 weeks ago in Afghanistan. He always said. She paused, swallowing hard. He said you don't wait for someone else to do the right thing. You see something that needs doing, you do it. You're a military widow? Sarah's voice softened, became less reporter and more human. Claire nodded. Just came from his funeral. Was trying to get home from the airport when she gestured at the still-burning wreckage. And you ran toward danger instead of away from it. Someone needed help. That's all that mattered. Behind Sarah, she could see other news crews arriving, vultures to the tragedy. Her phone was buzzing insistently in her pocket. She pulled it out. 17 missed calls. Ryan.
Mom.
Jenny. The group chat was exploding with messages. She put the phone away without reading them. The police officer offered to drive her home. She accepted, too exhausted to figure out another option. They rode in silence through the now clearing traffic, the city sliding by outside the windows, familiar and strange at the same time. Everything looked different when you were different. You know who David Brennan is? The officer asked eventually.
No.
He's donated millions to this city. Built 2 hospitals, funds a dozen charities. Half the social programs in Columbus exist because of him. His son died in Iraq 5 years ago. Since then, he's been especially focused on veteran causes. He glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. You saved a good man today.
Claire didn't respond.
She was thinking about Ethan, wondering what he would have said about all this. Probably would have teased her about being on the news. Made some joke about her 15 minutes of fame. Called her his hero and meant it. The officer pulled up to her apartment building. It looked exactly the same as when she'd left 2 weeks ago for Ethan's funeral. Strange how the world could end, and these brick walls would still be standing, the windows still reflecting the late afternoon sun. You take care of yourself, the officer said. And, thank you. What you did today, not many would have. Claire nodded, grabbed her suitcase, somehow still intact despite everything, and walked up the 3 flights to her door. Inside, the apartment felt like a tomb. Ethan's coffee mug still on the counter, a ring of dried coffee at the bottom. His running shoes by the door, laces still tied from his last run before deployment. The plant he'd insisted on buying was dying on the windowsill. She'd forgotten to ask anyone to water it. Her phone was going crazy. She finally looked at it. Dozens of messages. The news clip was already viral. Local woman saves philanthropist from fiery crash. Someone had shared it to the family group chat. The messages came in waves, each one making her phone buzz against the coffee table where she'd set it. Ryan. Holy shit, Claire, is that you? Ryan. Why didn't you answer your phone? Ryan. Mom's freaking out. Mom. Claire Elizabeth Miller, you call me right now. Mom. We just saw the news. Why didn't you tell us you were there? Mom. We would have picked you up if we'd known. Jenny. OMG, you're on TV. Jenny. You're famous. Jenny. Can you get me David Brennan's autograph? Ashley. So proud of you, cousin. Brittany. You're a hero. The same people who couldn't be bothered to pick her up from the airport were suddenly very interested in her well-being. Claire walked to the bedroom, sat on Ethan's side of the bed. It still smelled like him, that combination of his cologne and something uniquely Ethan. She pulled his pillow to her chest and let herself cry for the first time since the funeral. Great, gulping sobs that shook her whole body. Crying for Ethan, for herself, for the family that only seemed to care when cameras were involved. She must have dozed off because she woke to pounding on her door. Her phone showed 9 p.m. and 47 missed calls. The pounding came again. Claire, I know you're in there. Your light's on. Ryan's voice. Of course. She considered not answering, but the pounding would wake the neighbors. Mrs. Patterson next door had a new baby. She opened the door to find her brother standing there, his face flushed like he'd run up the stairs.
Jesus Christ, Claire.
He pushed past her into the apartment. Do you have any idea what's happening? You're everywhere. CNN picked up the story. CNN. They're calling you the hero widow. Claire closed the door and leaned against it. Hello to you too, Ryan. Why didn't you tell us? He was pacing now, his hands moving as he talked, the way he did when he was agitated. We're getting calls from reporters. Mom's having a meltdown. Jenny's already posted about it on Facebook, talking about her hero sister-in-law. The whole thing is insane. Funny, Claire said quietly. You didn't seem too concerned about me 6 hours ago. Ryan stopped pacing. What? Landing at 2. Can someone pick me up? She quoted her own text. Remember? You sent laughing emojis. His face went through several expressions. Confusion, recognition, then something that might have been shame. That was, I didn't know. Know what? That I'd just buried my husband? That I was coming home from his funeral? Or that I'd end up on the news? Come on, that's not fair. Isn't it? Claire moved past him to the kitchen, started making coffee just to have something to do with her hands. Tell me, Ryan, if I hadn't saved someone today, if I hadn't been on the news, would you be here right now? Of course I would. Really? Because I've been home for 3 hours. The news story broke an hour ago. Interesting timing. That's not. I saw the news and I was worried. You were worried about me being in the news. Not about me coming home alone from my husband's funeral.
Her phone rang.
Mom calling. Claire let it ring. You should answer that, Ryan said. Should I? She was pretty clear earlier that everyone had things to do.
She didn't mean it like that.
How did she mean it, Ryan? Help me understand. How else am I supposed to interpret being told to take an Uber home from my husband's funeral? He opened his mouth, closed it. Her phone rang again. This time she answered, putting it on speaker. Claire. Oh my God, sweetheart, are you okay? We just saw everything on the news. That explosion looked terrible. You could have been killed.
I'm fine, Mom.
Why didn't you call us? We're your family. We should have been there. Ryan said you were at the scene when it happened. If we'd known about the accident, we would have come to get you immediately. You were busy, Claire said, her voice flat. I should have planned ahead, remember? A pause. That's not. We didn't know about the accident. No, you didn't know about the news cameras. Claire Elizabeth Miller. That is not. Claire hung up. Ryan stared at her. You just hung up on Mom?
Yeah.
You never hang up on Mom? Yeah, well, I never saved anyone from a burning car before either. It's a day of firsts. They stood there in silence for a moment. The coffee maker gurgled. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance. Normal city, sounds that seemed alien now. Then Ryan's shoulders sagged. We messed up. You think? I mean it. When I saw you on TV, pulling that guy out, and then when the reporter said about Ethan. He rubbed his face. I couldn't believe that was my sister. You look like some kind of superhero or something. Like something out of a movie. I've always been your sister, Ryan. You just never noticed. That's not, he stopped. Started again. Maybe you're right. I don't know. You married Ethan and moved away, and it was like you had this whole other life. I lived 20 minutes away. You know what I mean? No, Ryan, I really don't. I lived 20 minutes away. I invited you guys over countless times. Birthday dinners, barbecues, game nights. Mom came once in 3 years. You came twice, and left early both times. We were busy. You were always busy when it came to me. But when Jenny needed help moving, you all showed up. When Ashley got engaged, Mom threw her a party. When Brittany's dog died, you all sent flowers. When my husband deployed, I got a thumbs up emoji in the group chat. Ryan sat down heavily on her couch. Mom's going to call back. Probably. You can't avoid us forever. I texted you that I was coming home from my husband's funeral, and you laughed at me. I didn't know. Would it have mattered?
Be honest, Ryan.
If my text had said, just buried Ethan, landing at 2, can someone pick me up? Would you have come? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. Claire's phone buzzed. Not a call this time, but a text from an unknown number. She opened it. Ms. Miller, this is Margaret Warren, David Brennan's assistant. Mr. Brennan would like to thank you properly for saving his life. Would you be available to meet tomorrow? He's still in the hospital, but is insisting on seeing you. She texted back that she would be there. Who's that? Ryan asked. The man from the accident. The philanthropist? Holy shit, Claire. Do you know how connected that guy is? He practically owns half the city. This could open doors for you. Claire looked at her brother, really looked at him. He was already calculating. She could see it in his eyes. What this could mean. What opportunities might come from it. How he could benefit from being related to the woman who saved David Brennan. You should go, she said.
What?
Come on, Claire. Don't be like this. Like what? Tired? Grieving? Done with being the family afterthought until I'm useful? That's not what we do. Isn't it? When's the last time you called me, Ryan? Before today. He stood up, defensive now. You're not exactly chatty yourself. My husband deployed 8 months ago. Did you know that? Did you once, in 8 months, think to check how I was doing? A text? A call? Anything? You never said you needed anything. I shouldn't have to beg my family to care about me. That's not. We do care. You care now. Now that I'm on the news. Now that I'm the hero widow who saved the philanthropist. Where was that care when I was just Claire, sitting alone while her husband was in danger? Where was it when I called to say he died? Ryan headed for the door, then turned back. For what it's worth, I am sorry. About the airport. That was shitty.
Yeah, it was.
I'll talk to Mom. Try to explain. Don't bother. Claire. I mean it.
Don't bother.
I don't want apologies because I'm on TV. I wanted a family when I needed one. That ship has sailed. So, what? You're just cutting us off.
No.
I'm just done pretending we're something we're not. We're relatives, Ryan. We share DNA. But family? Family shows up. Family doesn't laugh when you need them. After he left, Claire sat in the dark living room, her phone lighting up continuously with messages she didn't read. The local news was probably running the story again. Tomorrow it would be in the papers. David Brennan's assistant would arrange some meeting. There would be thank yous and probably media attention. None of it mattered. None of it would bring Ethan back. She pulled out his dog tags from her pocket, running her thumb over the raised letters of his name. He would have found all of this funny, probably. The family suddenly caring. The news coverage. The way one moment could change everything and nothing all at once. You tell me to milk it, she said to the empty room. Make them squirm a little. You always said they didn't deserve me. Her phone rang again. She looked at it, expecting Mom or Ryan. But it was David Brennan's assistant again. Ms. Miller? I'm sorry to call so late. Mr. Brennan is insisting I reach you tonight. He's still in the hospital, but very much wanting to thank you. He asked me to tell you that he's also lost someone in service to our country. His son, 5 years ago in Iraq. He says he understands what today must have meant for you, acting when you were grieving. He'd like to honor both your courage and your husband's sacrifice. Claire's throat tightened. Tell him thank you. There's more. He'd like to make a substantial donation to a veterans charity in your husband's name. And he's hoping you might help him choose the right one. He says someone who acts like you did today would know where the money would do the most good. Yes. I can do that. Wonderful. Also, he's having his annual charity gala next week. He'd like to recognize you there if you're comfortable with that. It would mean a lot to him. After Claire hung up, she stood at her window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, her family was probably gathered at Mom's house talking about her, about what this all meant, about how to insert themselves into this narrative. She could picture it perfectly. Mom would be making tea, her nervous habit. Ryan would be pacing. Jenny would be on her phone, looking for more news stories to share. The cousins would be texting, excited about their newfound connection to fame. Let them talk. She had work to do now. Real work. The kind that mattered. The kind Ethan would have been proud of. The morning after Ryan's visit, Claire stood outside Columbus General Hospital holding a bouquet of flowers she'd bought from the vendor on the corner. Not because David Brennan needed more flowers, his room was probably full of them, but because showing up empty-handed to thank someone felt wrong. Ethan had taught her that. Always bring something, even if it's small. It shows thought. Margaret Warren met her in the lobby, a well-dressed woman in her 50s with silver hair and knowing eyes. Ms. Miller, thank you for coming. Mr. Brennan has been asking about you since he woke up. They rode the elevator to the top floor, the VIP wing where everything was quieter, softer, more expensive. Through the window at the end of the hall, Claire could see the whole city spread out, including the stretch of highway where yesterday's accident had happened. David Brennan looked smaller in the hospital bed, but his eyes were sharp and clear. Bandages wrapped around his head, his left arm in a sling. When he saw Claire, he smiled, genuine and warm. "My guardian angel," he said, his voice still rough. "Please sit. Margaret, give us a few minutes." When they were alone, David studied her face. "I know who you are beyond yesterday. I looked you up. Your husband, Ethan Miller, 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. Killed in action 2 weeks ago." Claire's throat tightened. "Yes. My son, Thomas, was 2nd Battalion. We lost him 5 years ago." He paused, his eyes distant. "Yesterday, when I was trapped in that car, I thought about him. Thought I might see him again. Then you appeared." Anyone would have.
No, David interrupted gently.
They wouldn't have. There were dozens of people there. One acted. You acted, despite carrying your own grief. That's not common, Ms. Miller. That's extraordinary. Claire didn't know what to say to that. "I'm having my annual charity gala on Saturday," David continued. 500 of the city's most influential people will be there. I'd like to recognize what you did. But more than that, I'd like to offer you a position on the board of my Veterans Foundation. We need someone who understands loss and service. Someone who acts instead of just talking. Mr. Brennan, I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than most people in that boardroom. Will you at least consider it?" Before Claire could answer, her phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "We're coming to the gala. Already got our tickets through Jenny's connection at the country club. Can't wait to support you." Claire's stomach sank. David noticed her expression change. "Problem? My family just invited themselves to your gala. And that's bad." "It's complicated." David nodded slowly. "Family often is. Tell me, were they supportive when you got the news about your husband?" The question was so direct, Claire found herself answering honestly. "They told me to take an Uber home from the airport after his funeral." David's eyes hardened. "I see. Well, it's a big venue. Easy to avoid people if needed." He pressed a button on his bed rail. "Margaret, please ensure Ms. Miller has VIP access for the gala. The real VIP access, not the general admission her family seems to have acquired." 2 days later, Claire stood in a department store dressing room, staring at herself in a simple black dress. It was elegant without being flashy, appropriate for a widow, appropriate for someone who didn't want attention. Her phone rang. "Ryan." "Claire, about the gala. How did you even get tickets?" "Jenny knows someone." "Look, we want to be there for you. Now you want to be there. That's not fair." "Ryan, I've been to exactly one family event in the past year. Mom's birthday. I left after an hour because no one was talking to me. You were all discussing your trip to Vegas, the one I wasn't invited on. You wouldn't have enjoyed it. I wasn't given the choice. Look, we're coming to support you." "No, you're coming to be seen at David Brennan's gala. There's a difference." She hung up and bought the dress. Saturday arrived too quickly. Claire stood at the entrance to the grand ballroom at the Hilton, watching Columbus's elite violin. Diamonds glittered, tuxedos sharp enough to cut, air kisses that never quite landed. She recognized the mayor, several city council members, the owner of the blue jackets. "You look beautiful." Margaret appeared at her elbow. "Mr. Brennan asked me to escort you to your table." They walked through the crowd, past the general admission tables in the back, past the mid-tier donors, all the way to table 1 at the front. Claire's place card was next to David's seat. "Oh my God, Claire." She turned to find Jenny approaching, wearing a dress that was trying too hard, all sequins and plunging neckline. Behind her, Mom in her church dress, Ryan in a suit that didn't quite fit, the cousins taking selfies. "This place is amazing," Jenny gushed. "We're at table 47. Can you believe it? I can't wait to tell everyone at work." "How nice," Claire said flatly. Mom stepped forward. "Sweetheart, you look lovely. We should get a family photo." "I'm about to go on stage, Mom. After then. It'll be perfect. The whole family supporting our hero." Our hero. Like Claire belonged to them. Like they had any claim to what she'd done. The lights dimmed, and Margaret guided Claire away from her family. "Showtime," she whispered. David took the stage, still moving carefully but commanding attention. The room fell silent. "3 days ago, I should have died," he began. "I was trapped in a burning car, unconscious, with fuel leaking everywhere. The fire department was 20 minutes away. I had maybe 5. The room was so quiet Claire could hear her own heartbeat. Then a woman appeared. A woman who had just buried her husband, a soldier who gave his life for our country. A woman who had every reason to keep walking, to protect herself, to let someone else be the hero. Instead, Claire Miller risked her life to save mine. A spotlight found Claire. The applause was immediate and thunderous. She saw her family clapping enthusiastically, Jenny recording on her phone. "Claire," David continued, "would you join me up here?" She walked to the stage on unsteady legs. David took her hand, raised it like a champion boxer. "This woman embodies everything my foundation stands for. Selfless service, courage under pressure, action in the face of danger. I'm honored to announce that Claire Miller will be joining our board of directors, helping us serve the veteran community her husband died protecting." More applause. Someone shouted speech. Claire took the microphone, her hands trembling slightly. "My husband Ethan used to say that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite the fear. 3 days ago, I wasn't brave. I was just someone who couldn't stand by and watch another family get destroyed. If Ethan taught me anything, it's that we don't get to wait for someone else to do the right thing. We have to be the someone else." She found her family in the crowd. They were beaming, Mom wiping away tears that Claire suspected were more for show than genuine emotion. "I accept this position in Ethan's memory, and in memory of Thomas Brennan and all those who didn't come home. Thank you." The ballroom erupted. Claire left the stage quickly, but not quickly enough to avoid the photographers. Tomorrow, her face would be in the society pages. The gala was still in full swing when Claire slipped out to the terrace for air. She could see her family through the windows, Mom holding court at their table, probably telling everyone within earshot about her heroic daughter. The word tasted bitter. Hiding. She turned to find David Brennan's wife, Patricia, an elegant woman with kind eyes. "Needed air," Claire admitted. "I saw your family. They seem enthusiastic." "That's one word for it." Patricia leaned against the railing beside her. "David told me about the airport. About them refusing to pick you up." Claire said nothing. "My family did something similar when Thomas died," Patricia continued. "Suddenly very interested in the foundation we started in his name. Wanted to be on the board, wanted their names on things. Grief tourists, I call them. They want to be adjacent to the pain without actually feeling it." "What did you do?" "Set boundaries. It's the hardest thing, setting boundaries with family. They use words like love and blood and obligation to manipulate you. But boundaries are what save you." When Claire returned inside, Ryan was waiting. "We need to talk," he said. "All of us. Tonight." "I'm tired, Ryan. Mom's really upset." She thinks you're punishing us. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just done pretending. An hour later, Claire found herself in her apartment with her entire immediate family. They'd invited themselves over, Mom using her spare key while Claire was still at the gala. They were arranged in her living room like an intervention. "This has gone far enough," Mom began. "We're your family. We deserve better than this cold shoulder treatment." "What cold shoulder?" Claire asked. "I spoke to you at the gala."
Barely.
"You were at the VIP table while we were in the back. I didn't arrange the seating. You could have moved us up." "Why would I do that?" Mom looked genuinely shocked. "Because we're family." "Family," Claire repeated. "Interesting. Where was family when Ethan deployed? Where was family when I spent 8 months alone, terrified every time the doorbell rang because it might be notification officers? Where was family when I called to say he was dead?" "We were busy," Jenny started. "Stop. Just stop saying you were busy. You're always busy when it comes to me. But tonight, suddenly you're not busy. Suddenly you can make time. What changed?" Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "We realize we haven't been there for you." "No. You realized I'm connected to David Brennan now. You realized I'm on the news. You realized I might be useful." "That's cruel," Mom said. "Is it?" "Jenny, you've already posted 12 pictures from tonight on Instagram." I checked. "Every single one mentions me, mentions the rescue. You've gotten more likes than ever before, haven't you?" Jenny's face reddened. "I'm proud of you. You're proud of being associated with something newsworthy. There's a difference." "We made mistakes," Ryan said. "We admit that. But can't we start over?"
Why? Why now?
"What's changed besides my circumstances?" "We've changed," Mom insisted. "Seeing you on that news, seeing how brave you were, it made us realize." "Stop." Claire stood up. "Please stop. You want to know what I realized? When I was pulling David from that car, all I could think about was Ethan. How he would have been proud. How he would have said I did good. And then I realized that in my moment of absolute terror, I wasn't thinking about any of you. Because you've never been there when I was terrified. Or sad. Or lonely. Or anything really. We're here now," Ashley said quietly. "Because I'm useful now. Because you can tell people you're related to the woman who saved David Brennan. Because you got to go to his gala. Because I make you interesting by association." "That's not true," Mom protested. "Then where were you last Christmas?" "I invited everyone. I cooked for 12. 2 people showed up, Mrs. Patterson from next door and her grandson. You all went to Jenny's instead. Didn't even tell me until I saw the Facebook posts." Silence. "I'm not cutting you off," Claire said finally. "But I'm not pretending anymore either. We're relatives. We share DNA and history. But family? Family is earned. And you haven't earned it." "So, what? We're being punished forever?" Ryan asked. "You're not being punished at all. You can still tell people we're related. You can still use the story for social credit. I'll be polite when we cross paths. But I'm not going to pretend you care about me. Not anymore." Mom stood up, tears in her eyes that might have been real. "You'll regret this. Family is forever."
No, Mom.
"DNA is forever. Family is a choice. And you all made your choice a long time ago. I'm just finally accepting it." They left one by one, Jenny making a last attempt at a hug that Claire sidestepped. When they were gone, she locked the door and put on Ethan's old Rangers sweatshirt. It was starting to lose his smell, and that felt like another loss. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia Brennan. "Proud of you. Boundaries are hard but necessary. David wants to know if you're free Monday to tour the foundation offices." Claire texted back yes, then turned off her phone. Tomorrow there would be more messages from her family, more attempts at guilt, more manipulation disguised as love. But tonight, she just wanted quiet. Monday morning came with an unexpected delivery. Claire opened her door to find a courier with an envelope. No return address, but she recognized the handwriting immediately. Lucas Thompson, Ethan's best friend from his unit. She opened it with shaking hands. "Claire, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the funeral. I'm still at Walter Reed, learning to walk again with this new leg.
But I wanted you to know something.
Ethan talked about you constantly. Drove us all crazy with it, honestly. But the thing he said most was how strong you were. How you never needed anyone to prop you up. He was so proud of that, proud that you could stand on your own. I saw the news about what you did. Ethan would have been proud, but not surprised. He always said you were the brave one. He said your family never saw it, never saw who you really were. He worried about leaving you alone with them. Don't let them dim your light, Claire. Ethan would want you to know who truly has your back. It was never them.
Build your own family.
Find your people. You deserve that. Semper Fi, Lucas. Claire read it 3 times, then carefully folded it and put it in the box with Ethan's things. An hour later, she stood at Ethan's grave at Riverside Cemetery. They'd moved him here last week, home at last. The headstone was simple. Ethan James Miller, beloved husband, ranger, hero. Hey, babe, she said softly, arranging fresh flowers. Got your boy Lucas's letter. He's right, isn't he? You always said I needed better people. The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment, she could almost hear his voice. You deserve better, Claire. Always have. She told him about the gala, about the confrontation with her family, about David's job offer. I'm going to take it. The board position. Help other families like ours. Is that okay? A cardinal landed on the headstone, tilted its head at her, then flew away. Ethan always said cardinals were visitors from heaven. She chose to believe it. The foundation offices were in a gleaming building downtown. David met her in the lobby, moving better now, the bandages gone. Ready to see what you've signed up for? He asked. They toured the facilities, counseling rooms, job training centers, a food pantry, temporary housing for homeless veterans. In each room, Claire saw need and purpose, a chance to make Ethan's death mean something. This is Sarah Walsh. David introduced her to a woman about her age. She runs our widow support program. Lost her husband in Somalia 4 years ago. Sarah's handshake was firm, her smile understanding. David told me about you. About your family situation too. I get it. My in-laws only call when they need something. My own family thinks I should be over it by now. How do you handle it? I built a new family. Other widows, volunteers here, people who get it. You can't choose your blood, but you can choose your people. Over the next weeks, Claire threw herself into the work. She helped Sarah expand the widow support group, worked with Marcus Johnson on job placement programs, assisted Patricia with fundraising. Every day, she met people who understood loss, who didn't need explanations for the sudden tears or the gray days. Her family tried to insert themselves, of course. Mom showed up at the foundation one day, telling the receptionist she was Claire Miller's mother, here to volunteer. Claire had her politely escorted out. Ryan texted about bringing his company to sponsor events. Claire directed him to the general donations page. Jenny wanted to feature the foundation on her lifestyle blog. Claire declined. Each boundary she set got easier. Each no felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. Claire was facilitating a support group when she got a call from Ashley. Mom had told everyone Claire was getting them tickets to David Brennan's birthday celebration, a private affair for major donors only. I never said that, Claire told the group after hanging up. But this is what they do. Create obligations I never agreed to, then make me the bad guy for not fulfilling them. So, what do? Asked James, a Vietnam vet who'd lost his son in Afghanistan. I stopped playing the game. That night, Claire sent a message to the family group chat. To be clear, I will not be getting anyone tickets to any events. I will not be making introductions to David Brennan or anyone else. I will not be using my position for anyone's benefit but the veterans we serve. Please stop telling people otherwise. If you want to support the foundation, you can donate or volunteer through the proper channels like everyone else. The responses were predictable. Mom called her selfish. Ryan said she'd forgotten where she came from. Jenny posted a vague Facebook status about family members who think they're too good for everyone else. Claire left the group chat for good. A month later, at the foundation's quarterly board meeting, David pulled her aside. You've exceeded every expectation, he said. The widow's program has doubled in size. The job placement rates are up 30%. You've brought heart to what was becoming too corporate. I just think about what Ethan would want. He'd want you to be happy. Are you? Claire considered the question. I'm finding my way. Some days are harder than others. But I'm surrounded by people who understand that. Who don't expect me to be grateful for scraps of attention or perform happiness I don't feel. Your family's still causing problems? They've mostly given up. Realized I'm not going to be their golden ticket to anything. David smiled. Patricia and I would like you to join us for Thanksgiving. Small gathering, just a few people from the foundation. Sarah's coming, Marcus too. No obligations, no expectations. Just people who've become family by choice. Claire felt tears prick her eyes. I'd like that. Walking home that evening, she passed the spot where she'd first met David, where the accident had changed everything. The overpass had been repaired, traffic flowing smoothly. Life had moved on. Her phone buzzed. Ryan again. You know Mom's telling everyone you've abandoned your family, right? She typed back. I haven't abandoned anyone. I've just stopped showing up where I'm not truly wanted. There's a difference. We're your blood. Blood doesn't mean much when it runs cold. She deleted his number after that. As she walked into her apartment, she saw the photo from the gala on her mantle, not the one with her family, but one Patricia had taken of her with the foundation team. Sarah had her arm around her. Marcus was laughing at something. David and Patricia stood behind them like proud parents.
This was her family now.
Chosen, not given. Earned through shared pain and purpose, not obligated by DNA. She touched Ethan's dog tags around her neck. I found them, babe.
My people.
The ones who show up without being asked. The ones who see me, really see me. You'd like them. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, for the first time since Ethan died, Claire didn't feel alone. She had work that mattered, people who cared, and the strength to stand on her own terms. The woman who'd texted for a ride home 6 weeks ago, desperate for any scrap of family support, was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who understood that sometimes the family you choose is more real than the one you're born into.
Her phone rang.
Sarah calling. Hey, wanna grab dinner? James and Marcus are coming too. Nothing fancy, just that Thai place you mentioned. Yeah, Claire said, smiling. I'll be right there. She grabbed her coat and headed out into the evening, toward the warm lights of the restaurant where her chosen family waited. Behind her, the apartment no longer felt like a tomb. It felt like what it was, a starting point for whatever came next. Have you ever wondered if the family that shows up during your spotlight would have been there in your darkness? And what would you choose? Blood that runs cold or strangers who become your warmth? If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that explore the choices we make when family becomes just another word for stranger.